Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. Hello, everyone. Hey, I wanted to spend a little time talking about money and debt and credit and all those kinds of things. I think that most of us common people, which is most of this planet, this place we call home, can probably never really imagine what more than being a thousandaire is like. Being a millionaire seems like a really big deal, but almost in the grand scheme of things of the kind of spending we do across this planet, especially in the United States, $1 million seems like chump change anymore. However, most of us in the United States, at least, have a very big amount of debt. And big amount of debt compared to how much we actually earn these days and how much we can actually spend free from using credit to do that. It is quite amazing. I found a great website that I'm going to quote from a little bit tonight. I don't get anything for talking about this website, but it is kind of cool. And if it's actuality, it is quite amazing. Even if it's close, it's quite amazing, right? It's called the usdebtclock.org. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get any money or anything for mentioning them, but I found it tonight and doing some research for this podcast. And the reason that really got me started on this is one of my coworkers, actually my boss, had mentioned something about the fact that how much $1 trillion really was. He said, I don't think people know how much that really is. And he gave me an example, which I'll talk about shortly. But one of the examples I used to use quite a bit for describing $1 billion is a very simple math problem to figure out. $1 billion. $1 billion. If you had $1 billion and you were to spend $1,000 each day, every day of the year, using simple math, it would take you 2,739 years to spend $1 billion. Now, if you think about it like that, $1 billion is an extraordinary amount of money. People like Elon Musk have some like $400 billion. He'll never be able to spend that in one lifetime, much less all the lifetimes he might come back to live. That's a different subject, of course, but it is an amazing amount of money. And we just throw these terms around like it's nothing. And when we talk about budgets in the United States and we talk about spending plans and federal funding and Social Security and Medicare and defense budgets and all these things, and we're just throwing out billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, and we've all just kind of become numb to the terms, and I don't think we really understand how much money, at least money in the sense that it's called money and it's got some value, we hope. We can circle back on that too. But I wanted to break it down even further for you, and it would probably really blow your mind. Sure it will, because it blew my mind. I couldn't really fathom it until I put together the numbers myself. Once I was told the story, I had to go do it for myself. So, to break it down, everything is very exponential. For example, 1 million seconds, we're going to talk about $1 million first. 1 million seconds is equal to about 12 days. Not too impressive based on, what we've talked about already. But let's move it up. 1 billion seconds actually equals about 12,000 days or 30 years. Let's jump it up again. So 1 trillion seconds equals about 12 million days or about 32,000 years. So if you just look at those values in terms of seconds, it just blows your mind away, right? So let's take this into the actual United States national debt. So if you were to take 1 trillion seconds, and that's 32,000 years, let's say you multiply it times $36 trillion, the number is staggering, because after a trillion, it goes up to quadrillion. Just doing simple math without interest, it would be 1.15 quadrillion years to pay that off based on that example. It just absolutely blows my mind that we are using these terms and these dollars and these figures very loosely and like it doesn't even matter. I mean, right now, having an extra $1,000 in the bank or given to us or provided to us or we earn it or whatever is a flat miracle. I mean, it's so hard for the common and average person to actually get by, just to have a fairly simple life, not even an extravagant one. Just to have a home and a car or two perhaps, and kids in college and bills, to maintain all of that stuff and food. It is very difficult anymore to even really thrive very much. And so we rely on credit, which of course we'll talk about a little bit more as well. But going back to this website I found, usdebtclock.org, it has running totals of national debt and many things on this page. And I think you would really love to look at this if you're really intrigued by what I'm talking about. I just want to try to bring light to people what kind of situation we're really in. Assuming we really have any value to these dollars, it's amazing, because whether money is real or money is digital or it's just created out of a computer when you get a loan or you get a credit card or whatever, it still will haunt you for your life, because if you borrow anything whatsoever on credit, on any way possible, you will be chased down to pay that back. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever had a loan that you're delinquent on, or you've had bad credit and these kind of things, and debt collectors are merciless to get that money back. And of course, they're very interested because they bought your debt at a low rate. The only way they're going to make any money back is to collect the larger amount from you that you're supposed to have paid. And this creates a problem with your credit report. And the credit report, my friends, is linked to almost everything that we do or buy. Even auto insurance now is linked to your credit score. I mean, it's just amazing what they're looking at and why they're looking at it. And with debt, if you have none, like somebody like Dave Ramsey doesn't have any debt and hadn't had any for a long time. I'm sure if you guys have heard of him, know about him, you know why. But the thing is, he has zero credit score. He has no history at all. And so he could never go and rent a car or rent a house or rent an apartment because he has no credit. Maybe he could buy the place or buy the car or do whatever, but he could never, ever borrow money because he has no relationship with debt. And really, if you think about it, that is what the credit score is about, is your relationship to debt. Having too much debt is bad. Your score will be dropped. Having too little is bad. Your credit score will be in the low numbers. They want you to have this wonderful, perfect relationship with debt. Not too much, not too little, just right. Because debt drives interest. Interest supposedly feeds into the system and helps pay people and businesses and makes the commerce go round. And this is not just the United States, of course. The United States may have been the originator of much of this. I don't know. I don't know that much history. But the thing is that we are a society and a world that is encumbered in debt. If you go out and do the research, which I have in the past, I don't have those numbers in front of me or those ideas or data in front of me. Almost every country owes other countries money. I mean, it's not just the United States that supposedly borrows money. I don't know if I really believe that. But regardless, that's what the information is that's out there. I mean, I don't think there's a country on the planet that doesn't owe another country. And I'm like, I don't know why we just don't stop at some point and everybody just go back to zero and start over. But I guess that would be too silly, wouldn't? I mean, why would we do that? Even in biblical times, back in the records, as it's written, every 7 years, debt was erased, and everybody got to start over. That could be good and bad, right? Because then you have people that overspend on credit and borrow lots of money, and then they get off more scot free, I guess you'd say, than those that are being wise with their money and not really borrowing. However, let's go back to some of these numbers. And so I quoted earlier that we were going to use $36 trillion to do our little equation, simple math equation, that would take 1.152 quadrillion years to pay off the current national debt at the current rate. I quoted 36 trillion. But if you go on this particular website, this is really cool, actually. I mean, I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. The U.S. national debt is continually counting upwards in the hundreds of thousands, like as I'm counting here, there goes another million, boom, just within the time I pulled up the page again and started talking to you. So the U.S. national debt currently is 36,650,682,000 and counting. One of the things they talk about is the average amount of debt per citizen, not per family, per citizen of the United States is $107,182. And the average debt per taxpayer is $323,048. That seems kind of low to me because I don't know about you guys, but if you own a home, if you've ever owned a home, or if you're trying to buy one, you can't get much of a house or a home for $323,000, right? Not these days. It doesn't matter where you live. If you live in, the sticks, maybe, I guess. But then, most people need a car to get to work. And then most people need, you got to have insurance. You got to have all these different things. It's crazy, right? I think that's a little low, in my opinion. But I'm not the expert. I'm just speaking from my experience of it all, right? Let's see. The U.S. federal deficit currently, I assume that means it's just for this year, is, let's see, million, billion, 2,500,000,000, I'm sorry, yeah, $5.5 billion. There you go. These numbers are so staggering, it's hard to understand it. And to see the spending so far this year, then, if we're doing by year on this thing, is over $7 trillion. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. That is amazing. And some of the really big budget items I wanted to talk about. So Medicare and Medicaid is listed at nearly $2 trillion. I'm guessing this is for the year. I don't think it's total. I don't know, but maybe you guys can go look and see for yourself. We're gonna say that it's a year. I don't know if that's true. Social Security is about 1.5 trillion. The defense/war budget is $890 billion. That's about right. So this must be yearly amounts. And so the interest on our debt so far, and it's counting and going up, is $1,014,000,000,000, and that continues to go up. Oh, okay, that is just interest on the debt with the Medicare, Social Security, and defense budget. The total U.S. debt, U.S. total debt, wow, $102 trillion. Let's see, and then U.S. total interest paid is over 5 trillion. Credit card debt is 1.3 trillion, and per holder, it says that most people have around 8,000 and some change credit card debt. Well, I have a little more than that over the years, and we are steadily paying that down because being in debt is like being in slavery in a lot of ways. So these numbers are really astronomical. I mean, I don't know if I want to continue to throw all these things out, but there was a couple of other things I wanted to say. Oh, yeah. If this data on the website is correct, it says that the U.S. population is 341,500,000 and some change. And the amount of income taxpayers, U.S. income taxpayers, is only 112,600 and some change million folks that pay taxes. Probably less than half the people in the United States are actually paying taxes. I don't know what that data means, if people just simply don't owe taxes because they don't make enough, or they're just not filing. I'm not certain. I do know that there are probably plenty of people that don't pay for a long time. That'll eventually catch up with you. Nothing really gets pushed to the side, and they will chase you down. A family member of mine had borrowed $500 from one of those quick check places years ago, many years ago, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Paid it off about 5-6 years ago through the credit debt collectors. And for some reason, they still have all that stuff on record, even though it's not on the credit report anymore. I guess a lot of these companies out there are reselling debt as if it's still a real debt. So I think some of the debt collection companies are also getting the back end of the deal as well, getting and buying bad debt. That's kind of a oxymoron, isn't it, to have bad debt? But it's just quite a circular system. Does money actually really exist? I mean, how many of us really carry cash anymore? And even if you carry cash, it's very difficult to find places that have change for you or can actually take cash. And most places won't take it anymore because it's a lot easier to physically rob a place if you are a cash only kind of company or organization. It takes a little bit more of a white collar crime to steal from somebody that's only using credit or credit cards or debit cards or collecting their fees in that way. And we are slowly going on into this cashless society. Everybody thinking that it's very safe and it's a lot more protected. But I tell you what, you can get your credit card information, debit card stuff, or bank account stuff leaked and hacked like nobody's business. It's really apparently not that hard. I recently had one of my credit cards, my debit cards rather, hacked, or I don't even know how they got it. I went and they used my card for gas at this one place for a couple times. I think this is where it came from, and used the tap to pay thing. And I think somebody somehow must have kind of scammed that signal somehow. Who knows, in a car somewhere, with some technology. Anyway, I ended up with these charges, these large charges in other states that my bank caught before I did, which is really nice that they did that. And it's just amazing to me that people spend their time doing that kind of stuff. But back to money, does money really exist? I mean, cash was king, right? That's the only thing we had when I was a youngster. I remember when credit cards started to become a thing. My dad was, using one credit card to pay another credit card and on and on. And they don't let you do that anymore. But there was quite a circular payment system back then as well. And it is the way some people have to survive these days. But does it actually physically exist? I mean, if you think about it, right? If I apply for a loan, let's say I'm going to buy a car and I go through my bank and they approve me for a loan. I go out, pick a car, and I get the car. My bank really simply types it into the computer. Voila, you have $35,000, which is not much of a car anymore. $35,000 just simply begins to exist in a computer system or a banking system or something. But there's no actual real money if you think about it. And the sad part, or the interesting part, is that quote unquote money that they lent you or let you borrow to purchase a car that doesn't exist is using the collateral of an actual valued vehicle against money that doesn't exist and charging you interest on money that doesn't exist. And if you fail to pay off that loan or you miss payments and they go repossess it, then now the bank has real value. Wow. I mean, if you think about these things, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Let's just face it, though. We're in a system that we can't really escape from. There's nowhere to go. There's no other way to do it. And, they're even talking about, at least a while back, they were talking about creating a U.S. digital dollar. I don't know where that ended up. I think that may still be the plan. In all of the digital money that may exist in an official government status or form will likely come with expiration dates. This was on the Federal Reserve website, actually, where the digital dollar would have expiration date on your money. I'm almost quoting it directly, is that they don't want you to hoard money. They want money in the system. They want it circulating. They want it moving around. They don't want you to be able to save for a rainy day. They want you to continue to be subservient to the system, I guess. That's just my thoughts. I can't speak for the powers that be. I'm just, from the little man kind of view, I'm looking at this like that. But we are basically in a system that is inescapable. You can't really escape from it. Like I said, there's no real way to go. Even if you have cash these days, it's very difficult to even use cash. I wonder how those people that are homeless standing on a corner with a sign actually make it at all, because it's very difficult to find people that even have cash or change in their cars like they used to. I mean, what are they going to do? Sit out there with a cell phone and a tap to pay thing and say, hey, can you donate to me? I've not seen that, but I bet that would be a thing, because I don't know where they're going to get their money from if we're really not carrying cash. I can't remember the last time I really carried it. I don't know. I mean, I just had a coworker that was so much in dire straits that he actually had to go and sell all of his gold and silver off, which he was saving for something that had real value versus the fiat currency, which we have in the United States anyway. I don't know if it's that way in other countries, but fiat money meaning there's nothing that backs it. Yes, there's supposed to be gold reserves in Fort Knox. Who knows? You've probably all heard that story. I don't know. But right now, according to the Federal Reserve, I think back in 2020, they made it now that you don't have to have any backing whatsoever to lend money. Like the banks used to have at least 10% of what they were borrowing or lending out, called fractional reserve lending. So if they had $100 in their vaults, they could lend out 10 times that, right? Which is what, $10,000. And then they started to really creep into that, and then they started borrowing against the assets of the value that we talked about before. If they lent money out on a house or a car, then they were lending money 10% off the value of that loan, and on and on and on. And before you know it, there's really no backing and there's really no value in the banking system. Okay, I'm not speaking from an expert point of view, just a lot of things that I've read and listened to and experienced. But I can tell you, we do have to, I know we have to have credit. We have to use it, can be smart about it. But, it is very difficult to get things that you really do need, not even want, without really borrowing large sums of money to get it, unless you just happen to be wealthy. If you need a car, it is very difficult to just, save up money, ride the bus for 10 years to get all the money, and then eventually get a car. But it's still like chasing your tail. The easiest way, and sometimes the best way, is to borrow the money, get it paid down as fast as you can, and keep that balance of credit in check. Basically survival in our slavery system of debt. I call it that, because if you owe people money, you're really a slave to that person you owe money to. And whomever that is, or whatever system it is, or what company it is, you still owe them. Many religious texts talk about that the borrower is slave to the lender, which is very true in a lot of ways. I'd much rather be the lender, not the borrower. Of course, right now, I'm in the borrower part of that equation, and we are working diligently to get that corrected, to get things paid down and really get back in balance and check that I was talking about. Anyway, I'm not trying to put out a bunch of dismal information, although it is pretty dismal if you think about it. But I just wanted people to understand that the terms we use and the things we see online, when Doge and all them people are saying, we just saved you $1 billion or $10 billion, or we're sending $100 billion to another country for some weird program, that those amount of monies or dollars are amazingly high and very much more robust than you can imagine. If you break it down with this simple math, do it yourself, go look at it. You can do your own math and you'll see that it's an exorbitant amount of money, $1 billion, $1 trillion, and on and on and on. I don't think in the grand scheme of things, the way we're going with this debt-driven society that we have, and governmental spending and all these things, that anybody in the lifetimes of the folks that are listening to this now will ever see that debt erased. It's just not going to happen unless for some reason, the world decides to do a grand reset and start from zero. But we all know that we can't get two people to agree, much less 8 billion or whatever it is we have on this planet. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen. So I encourage you guys to really take care of yourself, to really be mindful of what you're spending. Do you really need it, or do you want it? It's great to want things, but in my opinion, you got to be careful with the instant gratification of using that credit card, right? Whip it out, and then next thing you know, you're $14,000-$15,000 in debt before you know it, and it's very easy to do. And then it seems like it's much harder to pay it off than it is to spend it. It takes a while to chip at it and to get back to zero, or at least close to zero, because with the amount of interest on credit cards and loans, it's like very difficult to catch up. It's like chasing your tail, because when you have a loan, you have a credit card, any kind of borrowing, the majority of your payments go towards interest until the loan slowly gets to the point where all the interest is paid off, it is very difficult to see any real decrease in what you owe because there's so much interest involved. I mean, car dealerships, I read the stories. I don't know if it's true, but that car dealerships get twice the amount of the loan that you think you're paying $35,000 for a car, and you agree to pay them $35,000 to whatever means they helped you with, but that the bank also sends them 35 grand. I don't know if that's true. That would be really sad if it was. I read some information about that, but information online is just that. Who knows if it's really true? But I do know that the system we're in is designed, I think, to keep us in, I guess slavery is the best way to put that, to keep us really captured so that we have to be really embedded in the work, eat, sleep, consume, and die mode that we all find ourselves in. You have to work because you have to pay back all these people. You have to work because you like to eat. You would like to have a home. You like to have a vehicle to get to and from work and to get to the soccer games with the kids. All these things, yes, we have to do that. But I really want to stress with everybody that being really mindful of your money and being careful with your money, and whether it's real money or not, the money that you are given to use, we should be good stewards of it and really treat it a little bit better and not use it just to get what we want in the moment and, get the things you need. And, yes, have some fun, get things you want, but I think we got to put our priorities first. And I think in our society these days, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, and we're really not attending to what we should be attending to with our money and our value and our things. And I think that there's much more to life than that, of course. However, I like to say it a lot. Money's not everything, but money is everything, especially these days, because poverty sucks. And without money or without enough money, it is very difficult to feel like you're having much of a life at all. And so, and then the other end of that, chasing money, to have more things, is also quite the dilemma as well. So it is a very fine balance, right? To really capture yourself and keep yourself balanced and in check with the system and money and things. And so, once again, please, please, please be mindful and pay attention to what you're doing with your money. If nothing else, really watch what you're spending, watch what you need, get what you want when you can, but not just because you want it, in my opinion. Not telling you what to do, my opinion. I also encourage you guys to go to my website at lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. I am a psychic medium, as you heard earlier on. I got a lot of really cool services. I got a lot of really cool products that my other half puts together, leather products especially. Very cool stuff. He's very good at that. And I have a blog page. I have a links page, all kind of fun things. But when I work with others, which I do love to do, I learn, they learn, everybody learns, and we all become better for the experiences working together. So I look forward to working with you. I look forward to hearing from you. Stay strong and live your life.